Hey, and welcome to Against the Odds, Lessons in Mental Toughness, where we understand that life's challenges only get harder, which is why we have to get stronger. Each week, we talk to extraordinary people to uncover how they use mental toughness to leverage obstacles and into opportunities, and how you can too. I'm Doron, the MT Doc Maman, a researcher, lecturer, and author on mental toughness, and I'm here with you to learn and grow, which is why I am excited to welcome our guest today. Our guest today is maybe one of the more special guests, at least to me, in this program. It is my best friend, my life partner, Danielle. Hi, Dani.
Hi.
A few words about Dani. Well, first off, I don't think there's ever been a podcast in history where two people started talking about, can we both have our phones on airplane mode? Yes, no? What about the kids? What if someone needs us? So I'm extremely happy and thrilled to be here because we are after one of the craziest life experiences that we never prepared for. And one of the things that I love to talk to about people is, I tell them time and time again, don't worry, it only gets harder. Don't worry, it only gets harder. And when I say that to people, what I'm genuinely meaning is that, look, if you're not worried and you understand the game is going to get harder, then you have what it takes. And I'm saying this to you even before you start telling your side of the story, and we're going to talk about that in a moment, because you proved what you're made of. You proved your mental toughness in this last little bit of window that we had. So before we start, I do want to set some guidelines because we are not in our house. We are not with the kids. Aside from being my best friend, my life partner, the mother to my children, today I want to talk to you from a different angle. I want you to talk from a place just as a mother, as a woman who just underwent a potentially life-threatening experience where 2 months ago, literally to this day, your husband, me, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor in the left frontal cortex area of my brain, and we were told we don't know who's going to wake up. And the mental toughness that you had to display during that time, coping with questions like, who's going to wake up from surgery? You know, is this cancerous? And if so, what is life going to look like for your kids? And I say this because, you know, we look back at this time and it feels almost somewhat science fiction like, but the level of mental toughness that you were forced to display, that life demanded you to display, no one came and asked you, you were just put into this situation. I'm going to say this already at the end of the podcast, but A, I believe it saved my life, and B, it is beyond inspiring and why I found it crucial to have you here as a guest. So I'm so happy you're here. So, okay, with all of that said, I want to start with some questions. First of all, share us a little bit about who is Dani.
Who I am, as in like what would I do, or
just who are you? Tell us a little bit about Dani.
I am 31 years old.
And come closer to the mic.
Okay, closer to the mic?
Yes.
Okay, I am 31 years old, a mother to two lovely children that we share. Yarden, who is 6, and Ariel, who is 2 and 8 months, I think.
That's right.
The second kid is always a little questionable. And I studied how to be a naturopathic doctor. I studied reflexology. I try and use it in my day-to-day. I'm now on a journey to rediscover how to use it in my life, how to make it a profession more. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Who I am is someone who, I guess, I don't know. I guess I'm just someone who goes with whatever life kind of throws at them, and I try to do it in the best way that I possibly can.
So let's go with that.
Okay.
So life threw at you something that we never prepared for. I think it's fair to consider ourselves a young couple, right? I'm 36, you're 31. We have 2 kids under 10, and we're just rolling with life. Now, as we're rolling with life and we feel that we're finally starting to get a gist of things, all of a sudden, on the morning of, you know, one of Israel's biggest holidays of Simchat Torah, all of a sudden we get this update of the brain tumor. And I want to take you back to that place. When you first learned about the tumor, right? Tell us, where were you, what was happening, and what were your initial thoughts?
Where I was in our bedroom. I was getting the kids ready we were supposed to go to shul with the kids, and we're supposed to have this like lovely dinner together. I was done with cooking. I didn't want to go anywhere. I thought that would be the best option. So I was just in the bedroom when I got the information. What was the second question that you asked
No,
me?
so tell us about, you were hit with this news, right? You know, what were the first thoughts that came with you once you heard it was a tumor?
Well, first of all, I could already tell something was wrong when I got a phone call from the hospital that I have to get immediately to a different hospital, that they're transferring you in an ambulance. Meanwhile, my kids are, I don't know, on fight number 5 of theirs from that day. I showed up to the hospital, I heard the information, and when you hear something that's so traumatic and difficult, there's this weird, at least that's how it was for me, there's this weird feeling of like you're in your body / not in your body. People are talking to you and you hear the information, but you're kind of like disconnected because it's so traumatic, it's so big, it seems so like this out-of-body experience. And my mind just kind of went to a place of like, okay, this is going to be my life for who knows how long. This is going to be something that we're going to have to go through. But
did you understand what it meant? Because
no,
I know I didn't. I know I still don't.
No, I didn't fully understand the magnitude of what it was. I didn't fully understand that when they told me the information, they said there's a mass in your husband's brain, essentially.
Right.
And it feels weird even talking about it like this. But when they said, like, when I heard that, I didn't even go to like, okay, it's a brain tumor, right? Because it was like this weird tiptoeing around what it actually is. And I just knew it was bad. Like, there's no way to think it's good. I knew it was bad.
And then when you showed up at the hospital and, you know, they started talking to us, just where were you mentally? Were you in this mode of, I've got to fight, flight, freeze, respond? Like, where were you?
I think I was more in this, like, okay, like, this is something I'm going to have to go through. I didn't even go to this place of like, oh, what's going to happen to me? There wasn't even space for that yet. There was more of this space of like, okay, this is something I'm going to have to go through. This is a challenge I'm going to we as a family are going to have to go through. And I'm someone who believes in God. I'm someone who believes in things happen for a reason. And I wanted to believe. I feel like that's how you get through difficult situations, is if you believe it's for a greater purpose, it's supposed to happen, and you have no control. I knew I had no control. That's essentially, I think, what I thought. Like, I have no control over this situation.
All right, so control is, first of all, I think you're spot on. Look, control is one of the most important things that I talk about in my course on the university and in my talks, and we're going to get to that issue of control. But at that same place in which you're just relinquishing yourself to the situation, and more specifically in regards to that decision that we're going to make it for something greater. I'll take us back. I remember after 5 days of exams, on me, they're doing these motor, cognitive, MRI, PET scans, CAT scans, all these different things that I'm like feeling just like this little rat in a lab science experiment. They come and they show us the picture of this thing sitting in the brain, and you and I had a moment of a conversation of, it wasn't even game planning. It's how are we going to cope with this? And I really think that reflected upon the mental toughness that we took together as a team. Not just as a team for me, for you, and you for me, but as parents to our children. So talk to me more about that decision, because we had 8 days to prepare for surgery, and that decision, I think, was one of the most important deciding factors of how everything else played out. So can you tell us what that experience of making that decision?
I feel like I kind of told myself, if I don't show my partner that it's going to be okay, if I don't show my children that it's going to be okay, whatever the outcome is going to be, if I don't believe it in everything that I am, if I don't believe it in my body, in my soul, if it's not everything that I feel, they're going to feel that. They're going to know something's wrong. They're going to see fear in my eyes. He's going to see I'm scared. But if I show my husband, my children, that whatever's going to happen, we're going to be okay.
Right.
We're going to win whatever is planned for us. If I knew that if I was going to mirror that to you and mirror that to my kids, that it was going to make a difference. It was going to change it. Because if I had gone into that place of, oh my God, I'm so scared. I don't know what's going to happen to you. I don't know what's going to happen to my kids. I'm so worried. If I showed you that, I feel like we would have lost already. Like, I feel like I wouldn't have been able to move again and again, because it's like this wave, right? You go up and you go down and you go up and you go down. But I feel like if you start from there, you're going to stay down for a while. Not only can you stay down, you can keep going down and down and down and down and down. And it's okay to go up and down. But I knew that if I told myself that, I knew that if I was going to show you that I can do this and we can do this and we're going to win, that was going to be the tone of the entire thing. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. So I'll tell you more than that.
I hope I'm not talking too much.
You're talking wonderfully and straight to the point, and I'll only emphasize that more because we know how much of a shit show that this was. You know, people hear the word brain tumor and they kind of put this death stamp upon your head of how much time do you have left. And you as a person who, again, I told you this prior to the podcast, I'm so surprised still that you came, because I know I'm a very out and about kind of character. You're much more to yourself, but that spirit of we are going to win. And I told you this because you know the ins and outs of everything that happened deeper than anyone else. That spirit, whether it was in WhatsApp messages that I get in the middle of the night, when you'd come and visit me, and all the crazy things that happened, was for me the biggest anchor. It's, I know how to lift myself up, I know how to put myself out in the field, but when you get that validation from an external source that means the world to you, that comes and tells you, Dawn, we're not going to try, we're going to win. I always tell this to my students, you know, if you try something, the word try within itself insinuates a level of, I've already accepted that there's a fair chance that I won't succeed. You are coming and you determined from the beginning, Dawn, we are going to win. Now, one more question pre-surgery that kind of balances that winning attitude onto the other side. You can't neglect all the fears that were there. I mean,
I was going to say that.
Look, one of the things that you kept telling me is I kept myself, or my coping mechanism while in the hospital, being literally surrounded by death day in, day out, was I was building my podcast, answering emails. I really try to keep myself committed. But for you, you know, one of the things my father told me prior to the surgery, he said, Dawn, you are the center of the trauma, but we're all traumatized. And the biggest thing that I've learned in this whole experience is, what is the trauma you experience? So I want to take you back to that place of, Dawn, we're going to win. But within yourself, what were those fears and how did you cope with them?
Well, I think any mother to children, whatever ages, especially mine being quite small, you definitely take yourself down that rabbit hole of, am I going to, I mean, let's be honest, you don't go into like positivity from the minute you hear that kind of information. You definitely your mind plays tricks on you and goes to the worst case scenario. And so obviously my mind went to, oh my God, am I going to be alone? Am I going to have to raise my children by myself? Am I going to have to see my partner, the father of my children, the person I chose for life, am I going to have to see them slowly wither before my eyes? Like, what is this? What is my life going to look like? Those are obviously the questions that I asked myself day in, day out. What is he going to look like after surgery? Will he be the same? Will the love be the same? Can you continuously, you know, when you make vows and you choose that person, you choose him in every single scenario. That's something I didn't fully understand, because someone comes and kind of takes that, could possibly take that person away from you and make him a different version of what you actually are used to.
I'll only strengthen that. That again, I think for me, one of the scariest parts of this whole scenario is that, look, we are talking about the brain. You know, this isn't a muscle. This is the main computer that determines who you are, what you do, what you love, who you love, and all of a sudden saying, look, we're going into that person and you might be getting a different product. So, I mean, that's I think, again, bringing it back to the idea of mental toughness, which what this podcast is about, it's understanding how do you maintain that winning mindset while looking dead in the eye of those fears and acknowledging it. You're right. This isn't that positive psychology baloney, right? And I'm saying baloney instead of bullshit because this was as real as it gets. It
was, and my mind definitely went there and went to the worst case. But again, I believe as people on this earth, if you don't find a greater, like that something's happening to you for a greater purpose, if something's happening to you for a reason, then for me, I feel like I wouldn't have been able to see those things in my head, those worst case scenarios. I wouldn't have been able to get out of them if I didn't realize it was for something else. Or to even talk on a podcast for me is huge. I'm super private, super shy. So for me to come and share this story in order for it to maybe help somebody else, that feels that feels like a reason, a purpose. That feels like there was a reason that it happened to me or to us, to our kids.
And that's the joke that we'd always say, that the tumor chose the wrong person to mess with.
Totally.
But God chose the right people to give it to.
I completely believe in that.
So let's go to the surgery. And again, I apologize for going to the point of pain, because I know this was very hard. Talk about the moments of how you coped, while seeing a person rolled into surgery, not knowing who's coming back.
To say I coped, it's so funny. People are like, how did you go through that? No one asked me. No one told me, are you willing to go through this? No one asked me. It just landed on our laps. There was nothing that I could do. I had no control. Genuinely no. First time in my life where I genuinely felt like I have to fully surrender to whatever's meant to be is meant to be, because I have no control over the outcome.
That's right.
The only thing I had control over was how what I was going to tell you before, which was, again, we're going to win.
That's right. You did say that.
And I also knew that I couldn't block out my emotion. I knew that I was in pain. I knew that this was going to hurt. I had put myself in that scenario, that moment that you were going to be wheeled into surgery. That was the first thought that clouded my head from the very beginning. Like, because I knew that was going to happen.
Right.
I knew that I might not get the same person when he comes out. And so I let myself feel everything that I wanted to feel, which was pain, which was heartache, which is
something that I don't know.
A little bit of grief.
Look, which is something that I don't know how to do.
Right.
Like, if I'm totally open and honest, I suck at allowing myself to feel what I feel, which is why,
I looked at you a bit, just saying, a bit like a crazy
cuckoo
person.
man, of
I
course.
was like, what is happening? This person's going into surgery, and I'm the one literally grieving on the side.
I'm 30 minutes before surgery with 2 computers finishing building a podcast.
I know you, so I knew that was a way for you to, like, a defense mechanism. I just know me, and I know in order for me to get to the next level, if you will, get to the place where it's going to be okay, I knew that I had to also feel the pain, because that's how you get to the next, that's how you get to the next feeling.
Look, and I love that, because I'm
not a professional, by the way. No professional.
No,
but this is just how I dealt with it.
But what you're actually saying here is something bigger. What you're saying here is that there's a different flavor to mental toughness, right? One of the biggest points that I talk a lot about in my course is the difference between pain and suffering. I always go back to Seneca's quote, and a Stoic philosopher who would say, man suffers more in imagination than he does in reality. Now, most people feel pain and they try to run away. Whether mine was a coping defense mechanism or not, I still haven't fully decided, right? But you go to the place of pain and say, just feel it.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is, feeling pain doesn't mean you're weak, doesn't mean you're not strong, doesn't mean you're suffering. You're not suffering, but you are in pain.
That's right.
Like, it's like when you get hurt, right? Like, your knee hurts, and you can cry if your knee hurts, but you're not going to sit the entire day and be like, I'm so sad all day long because my knee hurts.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, look, let's make it even harder, right? Because, again, my theory is that the game only gets harder. The name of my new book is going to be It Only Gets Harder. And why do I say that? Because, I'm wheeled into surgery, and I can tell you from my perspective, it was kind of being like rolled into a grave while you're alive. You hear, your wife in tears and your mother screaming behind you, and I didn't talk to the boys the night before the surgery. Like that was nothing means more than my relationship to my children, and I could not talk to them because I said I won't be able to hold it together. And if that wasn't enough, mid-surgery, all of a sudden, don't forget, we're in Israel and we're in the middle of a war, and sirens start going off while 8 people have their hands in my brain. Now, I say that because I want to go back to that place of pain and suffering, because the game seems to be getting harder. No one came and asked you if you wanted to take part of this game. I believe that is the definition of how life works, and I say this to us with love and respect. It's still going to get harder for us, right? And I say that at least based on our second child, who's funny and he's a crazy one, Valia. Why do I say that? Because I want to put that focus back on pain and suffering, right? While you're sitting there waiting in the unknown, not knowing who's going to come out, what's going to come out, what's going to the response, is he going to come out? And what that means for your children, for your life, and so forth. How are you practically, and I want you to give a practical tip to the listeners, how are you practically putting, a huge wall of China between pain and suffering, and making sure you don't shift into that place of suffering?
It's really hard because it's a very fine line. I've been in situations where, it's easier to be in suffering. It's so much easier to suffer. Right. You know what I mean? But there's a difference, because when you feel pain and seeing your family, your children go through something that is so hard, and having to also explain it to them every night, and having to like what you said, you didn't see them before surgery, so also having to navigate the fact that you don't know when the last time they saw him was.
Right.
So yes, those are moments of pain, and what you have to tell yourself is, I'm experiencing this pain for something else. I'm going through this because I have to, because I'm someone who believes in God. So I told myself that I'm going through this because God wants me to go on to the next level. God wants to test how much I actually am capable of. And to be honest, that feeling that you're capable of handling a lot and something really difficult, and continuing to choose, okay, we keep going. Okay, we got to keep going. And there were no shortcuts, right? That's the biggest thing I learned, is that no one knows what you're going through.
Right.
So if you're parking, I parked somewhere that was like, I don't even remember, but like prior to surgery, I came to visit you, and I parked in a really bad parking spot. And someone completely started yelling at me in the parking lot. And I was like, wow, this person has no idea what I'm going through.
Right.
Not only does he have no idea what I'm going through, he doesn't care. Life doesn't care what you're going through. And so that feeling of the pain, you have to feel it, you have to recognize it, but you have to keep moving forward, and you have to keep realizing that it's for a reason. It's not just so you can just, like, someone just wants you to have a bad life.
Right.
No one's out to get you. No one wants you to feel like, no one's out to get you, right? Like, this is happening to you, so maybe it's for a better purpose. And our story ended well, like, very positively. There's some stories that end very negatively. And even if it were a negative outcome, which thank God, I'm knocking on wood, it didn't, it's always a choice. I really believe it's always a choice.
That's
and
right.
It's always, your attitude is what will determine how you're going to deal with the situation. Because crawling over and laying in bed and being like, I'm done, life sucks, someone's out to get me, bad things always happen to me. If I would have told myself those things, it would have been so much harder to get out of it.
I understand.
Right?
Of course. Look, first of all,
I don't know if I went off track there.
No, you're actually, no, look, first of all, you're 100% on track, and I'll only strengthen that notion. Why? Because, look, I think the level of self-victimization, that pity place, it is so common, and
it's easy.
It's not only easy.
It's easier.
Yeah, well, it's definitely easy, and it's easier, but it's even more than that. It's that people just find that scapegoat so fast, so quickly. And again, I'm not saying this to show off to the world. I'm saying this as a source of inspiration. There was not one time that I heard you, or that at least me within my own conversation, did we stop and we say, why is this happening to us? And I think the magic word that you said here time and time again is, it is for me, it is for us, it is so I can get to the next level. There's a lot of research that talks about using the word because. This is happening. Now, this is happening can make it suck, it can make it good, but the second you add because and you give reason, right, you inject reason into that level, it changes everything.
It does.
I want to put one more point of focus before we finish off with some final questions, and that point of focus is about motherhood. I think, and I say this to the soon-to-be parents, not just motherhood, parenting in general, but the soon-to-be parents, the parents of the future, the people who are parents right now. It is fucking hard.
It is so hard.
Okay, no brain tumor, no
so
nothing.
hard.
I mean, it is nuts.
Hardest
right?
job.
Our little one didn't sleep for the first 2 years and 2 months.
45 minutes a night.
45 minutes a night, and we'd be bouncing up and down on the chairs until I think that would cause my brain tumor even. Like it is so hard. And then there's problems through the day-to-day, and how do you guys? But then you get to a different level that no one cares about, no one asks you. All of a sudden, you are just bombarded with this wild, unpredictable scenario. So how do you manage this? That I like to consider myself a relatively active parent. I know I'm always out and about and lecturing and doing these things, but when I'm home, I'm with the kids. I'm the father that catches his kid in the air, throws him to the sky, goes to the bathroom, comes back and catches him. I am that dad. But all of a sudden, Abba's gone. And you have to fill in two shoes. You have to fill in the shoes of the mother, who is the caregiving, present, loving, unbelievable parent, and the wild, crazy father who is not in your DNA. And you have to explain, especially to the older one, Abba's gone.
Yeah.
for the next at least month, Abba's gone, and we don't know what or who's coming back. And I want you to take us to that place of mental toughness. I think it's a place that's not really discussed, but mental toughness as a mother during a time of crisis.
First of all, I want to stop and say to every single mom out there, or any single parent out there, my hat goes off to you, because it's so hard. It's so hard to be on your own. So any parent who's parenting on their own, seriously, like the real superheroes of the world. It's funny because a time of crisis, our country's been at war for so long.
That's right.
And fathers have been not present and present and not present and present throughout the entire year for many children. And so it was so crazy to me to also experience this, because it felt like another thing, another moment of which I was going to have to tell my child where his dad is, and to also explain it to him in words that he would be able to fully understand.
Right.
Like, this is a 6-year-old.
He wasn't even 6.
He wasn't even 6.
Today's his birthday.
Today's his birthday. Happy birthday. So to explain it in words that a child will understand is extremely hard. It's something that I had to just do it as I went along. But I did always make it obvious to him that I was a place that he can come to, that he can share. I was also very accepting of the fact that there are shoes that I can't fill. And I can't throw him up in the air like he would with his dad, and I can't take him to soccer practice like all the other dads. You know, there were things that I was also accepting of, that there might be a chance that might be a void that he might have, right? And so I did accept certain things, and I also accepted that if that was going to be my children's story, then that was going to be their story. And I was going to do the best that I can to help them navigate this situation. And so we hugged every single night, and we were happy, and we told ourselves that we were superheroes, real life superheroes. That's what we kept telling ourselves, and that we were going to make Abba strong, and we were going to show him that we can do it. And that doesn't mean that I told him that they can't feel things.
Right.
We also felt pain, and we cried, and we hugged, and I feel like we went through it together. I feel like that's what families do. You go through things together. And I didn't want to show them that I was this like crazy mom that can handle anything. No, they saw me sad, and they saw me happy, and they saw all of the emotions, but we did keep this energy of happiness. We kept family around. We kept happy vibes, happy things on TV, and we tried to keep this happy atmosphere, because I knew that was going to help all of us. So
look, I can tell you that my biggest pain point as a father, you know, was the phone calls that I'd get from him prior to his birthday, him asking me, Abba, do you promise you'll come to my birthday? And I know I can't make that promise.
Those were the hardest conversations to have. Those were hard to hear from the side. Those were hard to witness. Those were the hardest parts, probably.
But I think beyond the keeping the happy atmosphere, this goes back to the place that you talked about of, I'll put it in this term, respecting your pain. Right, and respecting his pain. And I remember him crying to me over the phone, and he didn't hear my tears, and maybe he'll hear this podcast one day, and I was crying every night as we speak. This was the only item I kept on me that I asked to keep on me even during surgery, which they didn't let me, but this was his necklace. I gave him my necklace, he gave me his.
I remember.
That place is a different level of mental toughness, because as we talk about in regards to parenting, I also talk about it in regards to raising your kids. I think that the game is only going to get harder. I think that global warming is on the rise, and I say this knowing nothing about global warming. I think that, you know, the level of competition that's waiting for their world hunger, technology, ChatGPT, the
so
game
scary.
is only getting harder, which means that ultimately, and I say this in the highest form of respect to you, that level of motherhood that you displayed also has served and will serve as a beacon of light and inspiration for your kids to be raised as mentally tough. Now, that's the place that
I made lots of mistakes. I don't want it to look like I had it all together.
I made more
definitely
mistakes.
Did it.
Right. I had a mentor that once used to say, the job of a parent is to be the person that is blamed while their child hits their midlife crisis in the session of a psychologist that says, my mom's at fault for all these things. Then one day their kids will probably blame us for a bunch of things like that too.
For sure.
They won't be able to blame you for, and again, this whole last 2 months proved it, is there was never a point that we raised our hands and said, I quit. Right? If we put our hands up in the air, it was to put on deodorant. That was it. We did everything we could, whether I was in the hospital or you were with them. So I'm saying this to you as a mother. I think you're an inspiration, and as what I'm imagining one day our children will understand is that the mental toughness that you injected into them was mind-blowing. I want to ask one more question before we go into our final set of questions, and that's just in regards to the recovery. I can tell you that I truly believe I was gifted with an unbelievable surgeon and team that did a great job, because I'm alive, the tumor was benign, and they saved my life, as you did. But at the same time, the last thing I remember being told, I remember walking out of the neurosurgery ward, and I remember seeing a man shave his head's wife getting ready for brain surgery. I mean, this is just the type of shit that you should not see in your lifetime. And as I'm walking out, the last thing they say is, look, you have to prepare yourself to adjust to the world. Now that means a lot of things. I'm oversensitive with hearing, I'm short, I'm all of a sudden swearing more. You have to come back to build yourself who you are. What they didn't tell me is that the world also has to adjust to you. And that's where you come in. So tell me what it's like all of a sudden getting back a product that you're married to. I don't mean this figuratively, I mean this by law. What does that mean when you get back this person that you don't know who's back? How do you deal with that?
I have to be honest, I think that was the hardest part for me in the entire journey.
I'm sure.
I think when you're in this like survival state, which was the surgery and not knowing what the outcome was going to be and all of those things, you were kind of like in survival mode. And then the minute you can kind of take it down for a second, like he's going to be okay, but he's not 100% himself. But he saw a lot of things. But he's still in some sort of a form in post-trauma. So I think that was the hardest part for me as a wife, as a mother, to kind of see my husband going through pain, see my husband, it's him, but there's something slightly different. There's something a little off. I can't help him. I don't know what he went through. I wish I did, but I went through something else. And I think it's very difficult when two people, especially a couple in a house, go through something traumatic and each experience it very differently. And
we really had a lot of conversations about that.
And we really try to understand each other, but you also can't fully understand each other.
Right.
And so I think trying to be very patient with the person who is going through something, right? Trying to be very patient and understanding, but also not canceling that you went through something also. And so I think that was something really important for me as a wife, of someone who's going through something very traumatic, to be supportive, but also be this kind of mirror of, hold on a second, you said something a little bit hurtful. Did you notice you said that? Like all of those things.
And I didn't.
No.
No, I didn't.
And so it was important for me to show you that, hold on a second, there are things that aren't the same, and I want to show you them. Not in a hurtful way, not in a bad way or critical way, but in a way of a loving way, for you to recognize that there were things that were different for me also. So that I felt also that I was being seen, and so that I felt also that we're going through this together. It is you who was on the...
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I had such a hard time when you were doing that.
Really?
Yeah. You know why? No. Because I so badly wanted to feel, look, I'm in pain, see me. But you also in that action taught me one of the most important lessons that I needed in this whole journey. That so what if you want to be seen? Even if you're after brain surgery.
Right.
My brain surgery doesn't cancel your pain. And you know the point that I was talking about. I'm literally crawled up on the ball, like a ball, on the floor, crying, not understanding what the hell's going around me. And you're telling me, like, Dawn, like, you have to understand that it's not just yours. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I've been provided with. As hard and as painful as it was, it reflects that notion that I keep telling my students: a kick in the butt brings you a step forward. And that was a kick in the butt that I felt on one hand, I deserve it. I deserve the place to see me. But
I mean, you did deserve it.
It doesn't matter.
But it was also...
But that's the point. It doesn't matter if you deserve it. The world keeps going.
Right. I mean, again, I don't know what the proper thing to do was. I still don't know. We're still going through this process, right? But I think that I didn't want, what I'm trying to say is I didn't want to cancel me completely.
And that's what I love, because that's something that I'm learning. And seeing that in action in a very complex scenario, it is so easy to fully justify the other side without respecting yourself. I think for me that's one of the biggest takeaways, and I think that, by the way, that's something that feeds your personal mental toughness to get to the next level. I want to go,
I know we could talk forever.
Oh, yeah, okay, fine. 2 hours later.
No, I'm joking.
This is not the Joe Rogan podcast.
I have to pick up the kids.
Yeah, I know. No, I have a few lightning questions that I want to ask you. These are questions that I ask every guest. I want you to keep the answers short, concise, answer from your heart, and we'll take it from there. Now, because you haven't been in my course, but yes, you've heard me talk about this a lot, I want you, in respect to your world, in respect to your experiences, not just in what we talked about, but everything that you do, define mental toughness in one sentence.
I knew you would ask me this, and I knew I would have a hard time answering it completely.
So you can say, mental toughness is having to answer this question. Whatever you want.
Mental toughness is, I want to say, is, it sounds so, cliche, but it is a choice.
I love that.
Is what I feel. It is something you can choose, and you can also choose not to. I really believe, I know it sounds so simple, but it really is a choice.
You're 100%. I agree with
That's what I think. I don't know.
Question 2. No, it's wonderful. I always tell my students this: theory without practice is worthless. Why do I say that? Because I want you to give our listeners one action item, one golden piece of advice that people can act on to build their mental toughness in respect to your experience.
I think I feel so inspired by what you tell me. But I feel like find your purpose and realize what you're good at, and if you do something from wanting to give to others and having it serve you and serve others, I think you're gonna really find this
You didn't even read my thesis, and you're putting it.
No.
That's right on.
It is it?
Well, it's not far. It's definitely service, being called up from service.
I really feel like that's exactly what it is. I don't know how to put it into beautiful words like you just did.
If you want to read my 80-page thesis, you're more than welcome to. Don't read it. Okay. Last 3 questions. When I define mental toughness in regards to my research, I talk about it in 3 core pillars. I talk about it as values as a driver of behavior. I talk about it as accepting that there will be endless challenges. Just like you said, we're still in this. And lastly, building an unshakable self-confidence. So first question is, what core values keep you grounded during these tough times?
Oh my God, what a loaded question.
One question, one value. What is the most important value that drives you when shit hits the fan?
Family.
I knew you were going to say that.
Really?
I knew you were going to say that.
Did you?
I know you too well.
Family.
Hands
down.
Do you want me to answer the next 2 questions for you? No, I'm kidding.
All right, let's see.
No, you're absolutely right. Good. Family, amazing. Question number 2, how do you stop pain from turning into suffering and make it concise, a practical action that people can do?
How do you stop pain from suffering?
No, from pain turning into suffering.
Feel it, experience it, and move on.
Boom, I love it. And last one, what practice has been most effective in building your self-confidence? Working out, reading, talking?
I feel like going outside, nature, walks, stuff like that.
Can you elaborate a bit more?
I feel like, okay, I'll make this a little more fancy.
Please do.
I feel like recognizing moments of bliss in the shitstorm kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like walking outside and looking at the flowers, walking outside, seeing the birds kind of fight over something in the sky. Those tiny little moments, they make the world feel a little bit more simple. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think we lost a lot of that simplicity.
Totally.
Einstein used to say, it's not so simple to be simple.
I know.
I think
and I really feel like the world could use a little bit, just go outside, look at the birds, look at the trees. It's really not that complicated. I think that's what I used to tell myself sometimes when I would be driving from the hospital to the kids. I'd be like, Don, just drive in the car, look outside for a second. It's not, you're just this tiny little dot.
All right, well, I need to learn how to do that.
I know. I don't even know if I answered that.
You did a good job.
Did I answer the question?
You did a great job. And more than that, I want to summarize and I want to say a big thank you for being on this podcast. And I won't say this to any other guest, I'm assuming, but I also want to say thank you because you saved my life.
Stop.
No, Dan. I know you're too shy and you wouldn't even let me in the Biknesset when I did the when the Saudato Dayan, all those things of Al-Bemet, and you know you saved my life. You know you're more than everything to me. And I really hope that our listeners, look, yes, I am biased, I am subjective because I'm talking to my wife and I want to make sure that I don't sleep on the couch tonight. But at the same I've never slept on the couch. No, not for those reasons. But sincerely, I truly hope that if you do have a partner, or if you're on the path of looking for a partner, you find a person that has that mental toughness, that when you are called up to that place, and again, Dani was called up, no one asked her, no one asked us about this brain tumor, it was gifted to us. I always say that tumor chose the wrong person, God chose the right people. So sincerely, I want to thank you for being on the podcast and having the bravery and willingness to share the story, and more importantly, thank you for saving my life. If you're interested in finding more ways how you can build mental toughness, go to www.themtdoc.com, where you will find links to connect via LinkedIn, Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, and join the private WhatsApp group where you can get weekly messages on how to build your mental toughness. Or if you just want to reach out to me personally, reach out via doron@themtdoc.com. And with that, I want to remind you, the game will only get harder, which is why we have to get stronger. So until next time, learn, apply, and keep building your mental toughness. Thank you, Dani, and I'll see you later.
I love you.
I love you.